Hello, everybody. This is Matt Campbell, and you are tuned in to another Storytime Spotlight. For this week's guest, we have Open Doors founder himself, Friz. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing good. Just got back from the gym, eating better, still feeling pumped from the pre-workout, but we're here. I'm super excited for this. I've been wanting to do this with you for quite some time, so thank you for taking the time out of your day for us to be able to knock out this Storytime Spotlight.
Yeah, thank you. I'm super glad to be here and really grateful we're getting to sit down and talk.
I already know this is about to be a great one. So for everyone who's watching, get ready, get yourself a snack and tune in because there's about to be some knowledge that is going to be coming out of Mr. Friz's mouth himself. So starting off with the production talk. Well, let's actually skip that. Let's start with, where did the name Friz come from?
Yeah, so Friz came from my real name. My full name is Ryan Frizelle, and just all throughout my life, that nickname Friz has come up regardless of where I'm living or what I'm doing or what friend group I'm hanging out with. Somehow it always just naturally comes up. Someone starts calling me that. And so when I started releasing music and wanted to put out my music, I was like, what should I call myself? I want it to really be me. And so I was like, let's just roll with Friz.
There you go. And that's a pretty solid start. Especially being around friends and stuff like that and having them call you that too. It's a solid thing. It's a nice nickname to have too.
Yeah, it felt natural.
Felt very natural. So when you're producing, what DAW do you produce on?
I am an Ableton guy. I started off with oh my God, I don't even remember what it was called, like Music Maker 7 or something.
Okay.
And I like traded in headphones at Best Buy, got some cash back from that because they broke and I had insurance on them. So I had like $100 or something to spend. I'm like, they're out of stock of the one headphone that I wanted. And so I was just walking around Best Buy, and then Music Maker 7 or whatever it was caught my attention. I'm like, ooh, that looks pretty cool. So I picked up that and then just bought some like shitty headphones with the remainder of that money. And then 6 months later, I naturally evolved into Ableton, I guess. But yeah, I've been using Ableton for a bit now.
Did you have other people who you were around that were using Ableton, or were they on different DAWs?
No, well, actually, yeah, I take that back because have you heard of Kendall?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we went to the same high school, and she was like a grade or two older, and I remember she literally just started producing like around that time I bought that, and I heard that she had like a crack for it at the time. I was like, yo, can you teach me how to like install this? And she was like, yeah, you just do this, this, and this. It's like, sweet. So yeah, she helped me install that. And the school that I went to, I didn't know a ton of people around me who were producing and stuff like that. Like, she's obviously deep in the scene now, but at the time it was one of those where like it was super fringe and she kind of just did it on the side, and I didn't know anyone else who really made music. I just knew that she kind of had, and yeah, so I didn't really know too many people who did, but yeah, there's a lot of people coming out of where my high school was who have been making music and produce now. So it's pretty cool seeing a lot of those people.
Started. Yeah, most definitely. So when you're starting out on a blank page, going into a brand new idea, when you're going into a song, what's the first thing you're starting off with in that project?
It's a great question. The first thing I start off with is a blank canvas. It's just empty, and then I'll literally just throw sounds in. So whatever sound is inspiring me or I find to be inspiring, I'll start with that. So I usually start from the beginning. I'll just produce a song outward from the beginning. And so that could be me scrolling samples. I click on some random thing. It could be me playing on a synth and I like scroll through 20 different sounds, and then I'm like, that's the one.
Right.
Or yeah, it could be really anything, but it just starts with a sound for me.
The sound, yeah, that will give you the motivation too. Just one little simple synth stab, and you're like, okay, we can build from this. We can build from this. So,
Yes, exactly.
so what would be some advice that you could give to somebody who's just starting out in production?
Yeah, I say have fun with it, because if you're not having fun with it, then why are you doing it? So if you're starting
Absolutely.
off, it's a long journey and you're gonna want to have fun with it. If you're just starting and it's already not enjoyable, you're gonna burn out super quick, and it's like what's the point? Like, why are you doing it at that point? Are you doing it for someone else or something? So I say if you're just starting off, have fun with it. Don't be too hard on yourself if it's not perfect. If you get frustrated or something, because it is learning a new language and a new program, take a break and come back to it. But yeah, just go for it. Try it. Literally, anyone can get started with producing. So if you have any type of urge or thought to produce, try it out and see where it will take you.
Yeah, most definitely. Being authentic to yourself. That's the major key
Yeah,
there. Authentic to yourself.
100%. Yep, that's right
So,
on.
what would you say are some do's and don'ts that you could give to people, whether it be in the industry or in producing?
Yeah, I would say just in general, a big do is talk to everyone you can, even if you're introverted or like don't like talking to people, or you
Absolutely.
keep to yourself. There's the internet out there. You don't even have to put your face in front of people. You can just talk on random forums. You can just talk to different people, get other perspective. And when you're talking with people, just be a good person, be genuine, and you'll meet a ton of people, and over time that network will expand, and before you know it you'll be like, whoa, like how do I know all these different people? And if you leave a good impression by just literally being a good person, then all those people around you are just gonna have good things to say about you. So that's a big do. Be
Yeah.
nice
Yeah.
and talk with everyone.
Yeah. A big part of it is networking.
Hmm.
For everyone who's watching, networking is actually how I met Friz. I met Friz through our good buddy Loesch, and that's exactly how through networking I met him. So you meet a lot of great people through networking, and you have to also be able to put yourself out there to get to know other people, because those connections
Yeah.
you make can take you to the next level. Or let's say even you don't know how to master your own track. Well, putting yourself out there, meeting somebody who knows how to master that track, that's going to be so beneficial for you as well, all because you're networking and putting yourself out there and getting to know others, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
So what are you doing when you're not producing?
I'm doing a ton of things when I'm not producing. When I'm not producing, you can catch me either reading, being out in nature, meditating, watching YouTube videos, hanging out with friends, working on open doors stuff a ton. Really, whatever catches my interest. I mean, I'll even like, I didn't grow up drawing, and I'm not some profound visual artist by any means, but I'll draw and stuff. I'll draw. I'll create clothing. Whatever's catching my interest, I'll really do. So that varies a lot in my day to day, but I love creating, even if it's not like a perfect creation. I just like the act of creating.
And don't you put your collages together for your artwork and stuff? You do your own collages,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's I
Absolutely.
do. That's awesome that
Absolutely.
you know that. Yeah, those are collages I made, where I'll just take out a bunch of magazines, and it's kind of like it allows me to create in another way where maybe I'm not feeling like producing that day or that night. I just want to like get out that creative expression. So I'll just cut up a bunch of magazines, see what catches my eye, throw them all over the table, and I'll see like certain areas that I like and that catch my eye, and it's all a feeling. Like if something makes me feel good, then I'm like
Right.
that's an indicator that that's the direction to go. So then I'll do that, and it's like a piece by piece process where then I start gluing one by one the piece down, and soon I have a collage in front of me. Take a picture with the good old iPhone picture, and then have some album art after throwing it in Photoshop. Maybe I'll like put my logo or something over it, but very minimal Photoshop stuff with it.
So, hearing you bring up open doors, can you give us more of an insight of what open doors is?
Yes. So open doors is a lot of things. In general, it is a music television company and platform. It's a website. You can go to opendoors.la, and it's streaming music television content 24/7. So at all hours, you'll see different videos playing, and a lot of it was inspired by, I remember growing up, like right when I moved out of the house, I had a friend who had an apartment, and I'd go over to his house and they'd just be streaming music videos on their TV on YouTube, and they'd just be running all the time. I'm like, that's dope. So that inspired a lot of it. Yeah, that's what Open Doors is.
And so you guys also came out with a movie, kind of getting more in depth in that. Can you give us more of an insight on the movie?
Yes. So we had access to a big industrial warehouse in Los Angeles where they put on a lot of techno events and stuff like that. And with coronavirus and all of that, it was not in use, and we had access to that location. So we brought together a few artists and a bunch of multimedia artists as well, on video and also on projection mapping, visual arts like painting. And the whole idea was to bring all these different creatives together and facilitate this environment where everyone could come together and just do what they do in free flow, and it would come together to create this one piece. And so that was the concept behind it, and we knew it was going to be a movie, and it's really following the whole creation process of that, which took place, and that was what the movie was about.
I really, when I was watching the movie, I really enjoyed the fact that it kind of like showed the full production, and then it showed like the building of the production. I don't remember her name, but the girl who was painting the mannequins, and you see the process of how she was painting the mannequins and stuff.
Yeah, Audrey. Shout out Audrey.
Yeah, just seeing how she was doing, like you saw the blank canvas, and then like you're seeing like what the after effect is. Like I thought that was just something that was like either bought or whatever, but then seeing her actually paint, I was like, these are some creative people that you're working with, and especially just seeing like the sets, that everything that was being put on, like it was very thought through. So definitely shout out to you guys for the artistic direction that you took it. And I love the fact that it was in depth. I wouldn't say knowledge, but you getting to know the artists that you guys pretty much are like a collective with, and getting to get to know them better and like kind of their backstory on how they do things. So if people want to know where to watch that at, where would they go to go watch that movie?
That's awesome to hear, because you kind of hit it spot on of what we were trying to do there. They can watch it on opendoors.la. That's where we have everything, and there's a movie tab. And I also want to say shout out to Johnny and Cole from Open Doors. They directed the project and facilitated a ton of that. So in terms of that creative direction, I gotta give a huge props and shout out to them, because they were very instrumental to creating that whole piece, and everyone who worked on it was, but they really put in a ton of work on that project and made it what it was.
Yeah, it was definitely, I watched the whole thing, so I was very
dope.
I was very happy when I was watching too. It kind of like gave me like this sense of like euphoria, just like kind of seeing everyone's like upbringing. So definitely shouts out to everyone who was involved with the project. For those who are watching, if you have the time to watch, take the time of your day. I promise you it's worth it. And not only that, there's a ton of great music in there. There's a ton of great music in there. So on to something I know you love to talk about. Let's get on the subjects: mindfulness, consciousness, and the existence on this planet. Where would you like to start off with this?
We can start anywhere. I'm fascinated in those subjects because I believe that's everything. That's like our entire existence on this planet, where we're just all conscious beings. We're all like souls inside of bodies that are walking around, and a lot of times we'll get caught up in our external worlds and external realities, thinking that that's what everything is. But really, like, there's so much more going on underneath the surface, and I'm just so fascinated. I don't know what it is about it, but I just love uncovering those small secrets of the universe that help in everyday life, because everything that we're perceiving and looking at is a reflection of our consciousness. Yeah.
Do you feel Do you feel as if we are on a predetermined path, or are we able to free flow through life?
That is such a great question. I've thought about that a lot. I think I think it's almost both. Like it's a combination of both. I'm a big believer in the fact or the concept and idea that there's infinite timelines. And so times existing on a spectrum of the past, present, and future is all happening at the same time. And at all times too, there's every single version of us that we could imagine. So right now, as we're talking, 10 years in the future, there's a version of me that is homeless on the streets and I'm sitting there in the rain and going on with my day-to-day life in that. There's a version of myself that is riding around on jet skis in Miami and skydiving out of airplanes, and there's everything in between in every single imaginable existence. And I think wherever you put your focus, that energy kind of flows. So if you concentrate on a specific timeline enough and not only focusing on it, but truly believing like and feeling that this is the timeline I'm meant to be on, this is the timeline I am on, and let's just trust the process. I believe that's the path that your life can take. And it takes a lot of trial and error and figuring things out. I kind of think of it as like an analogy of if you look at a mountain far in the distance and you're driving in your car and you're like, I want to get to that mountaintop. Just trust, put it in your GPS. You trust that you're going to get to that mountaintop. And then the route that you may take some crazy twists and turns that you would never imagine or be like, I feel like I'm going the wrong direction right now. Or this feels like a huge inconvenience. But if you just keep your eyes and keep your sight on that location or that destination, then eventually you somehow magically end up there.
It kind of falls in line with manifesting. You know, if you
Yeah,
manifest to be either your best self or you manifest to achieve the goals that you're going to do, it's going to be a roller coaster. But if you keep manifesting out there to kind of do those things will happen to you. Right? Would you say
definitely.
so? There you go.
Definitely. I think that's spot on.
So what's your take on deja vu?
Oh, that is also a great question. I've been having a bunch of deja vu moments, and it really it like piques my interest. I'm like, what is that? And I'm thinking maybe at some points I've been thinking maybe does that mean like this has happened at some point in the future or something where I'm really trying to figure that one out. I'm glad you said that because that has been happening so much this year. And every time it does, I really like to be aware and observe it because awareness is very key. Do you have a take on it? I'd love to hear
Oh,
your take
oh my goodness. My take on it
because I don't
is,
know.
so my favorite movie of all time is Donnie Darko. And for those who haven't watched Donnie Darko, there's a part pretty much where they're talking about how there's like this wormhole that comes out of you and you're set on a predetermined path. My take on deja vu is when you have deja vu, it's a reminder that you're on the path that you're supposed to be on. And that's kind of where I
Mm,
see it. And so when people say, oh, this looks familiar, this is, oh, I met this person before, or this is like the surrounding is familiar. To me, that just means that this is a path that you were supposed to be on. So that's what I
oh,
take deja vu as. I'm 100% with you on alternate like versions of yourself in different timelines and different universe. 150%. I do not doubt that a day in my life. But as far as deja vu goes, that's what I kind of partake it as it's someone who's on the right path on where they're supposed to be. That's what I take it
that's so cool. I love that. I'm gonna start viewing it that way because I
as. Hey,
think
what do
there's
you want?
something to that.
And the thing that I've noticed is your mindset can change so much in your day. Like, I'm not going to lie, I am
Mm,
not the most positive person 24/7. Sometimes I have a stressful day at work and I'm like, I want to be anywhere but here. And then I'm just such a like Debbie Downer for the day. And like my energy is rubbing off on other people. And like, I can just tell that I'm just not the person who I am just by my mindset. But mindset can change a lot in your day. So manifesting
mhm,
and being positive in this negative world that we're in can change so much, not only on you, but impact
mhm.
others as well. It's kind of where I take it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's no easy task being positive all the time, and everyone feels negative and positive, and they like you feel everything. I think just that want or that desire or that feeling of, yeah, I want to feel positive. I think that's like 90% of it, because if you have that want to do something, like our brains, there's neuroplasticity and whatever. There's this saying that goes that neurons that fire together wire together, and so pretty much the more you feel something, it starts to fire that, and they like your neurons wire together, and that becomes your reality. So life is very malleable, and by focusing on like, yeah, you're not going to feel positive every day,
Yeah,
you're not going to feel negative every day, and if you just
true.
like make the choice to be like pretty much exactly what you're saying of like, oh, I'm at least going to be aware of what state I'm in, and try to do this thing. I huge respect for having that mindset and that mentality, because I think that'll take you really far.
Yeah, and my number one thing I tell people, and sometimes, you love to give advice and don't take your own advice, but my number one
Yeah.
thing that I tell people when they're having bad days or something's going on is I always tell them, after the worst storms, the sun always shines again. And like when you think about
Yes.
that, that's like it really does hit deep because you're like, all right, this is true. It's same with the whole life's a roller coaster saying, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
bad times don't last too long, and if they do last, well, guess what, they're not going to last forever, and that's just kind of
Mm-hmm.
what that's all we can really tell people in these days and time. Now for us
Yeah.
talking about neurons and body language and manifesting and all this stuff, random question, but
Yes.
which part of the body would you wish that we could detach and why?
The head, because that would just be hilarious if like you could like detach your head and just like walk around with it. Just be like, yo, you know?
That is true. That is true. I could see that. I could see that. So,
Yeah.
so on our Storytime socials, we put out a message out to the people who follow us, and we asked what questions would they like to hear us ask the artists that we interview on the Storytime Spotlights. You put down quite a bit of comments, and so I figured I would ask you some of the comments that you wrote down. Okay. So
Let's do it.
first one. If you could turn any plugin into a person and befriend them, what plugin would that be?
I would I would use the or like turn the Spectrum plugin into a person. And I never even used that plugin. I can't remember the last time I've used that. Maybe it's been a year or so. But I feel like that's a plugin that just kind of like observes everything going on in the track and just like relays that information, feeds it back. So if I had a friend or a homie that was just like crazy observant and just like kept track of everything going on and was just like, yo, blah, blah, blah right now. Like, this is this way right now. I'd be like, sweet, that's like so much information coming my way. Thank you, friends that was a plugin and is now a material form. So I'd pick the Spectrum
Spectrum. Solid.
Analyzer. Yeah.
Solid choice. Solid choice there. Now, if you could sit down and have coffee with any artist, who would it be?
Um, Probably Skrillex or Diplo, just because they've been in the
Mm,
game for so long and have seen so many things that I would love to hear some advice from them and just hear about their experiences. Because they've both been at like peaks and tops of the top of the music industry, and I feel like they've seen some crazy things and experienced some crazy things. So I'd love to hear
yeah.
from them and have a conversation with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Great choices. Great choices. Now, I know that sometimes we're out and about and sometimes we're either on our laptops or we're on our phones. What's the best Wi-Fi network name that you've tried to connect to or seen?
Oh, this one guy, John Pagnato, what was his Wi-Fi? That's a great question. I remember this one guy had a Wi-Fi name that was just hilarious. I forget. There's one person who named their interface You know Scarlet Interface? This
Mm-hmm.
isn't Wi-Fi, but they named their interface Scarlett Johansson. So when it
Got
popped up, it was I thought that was pretty clever. Pretty sure that was the same guy. Um, shit, I don't know, but
Like,
my Wi-Fi password right now is Ocean Wagon 974. Shout out to Spectrum that gives you two random words. I've had Spectrum 3 times, and they'll give you like three or two random words with 3 digits at the end of it.
right.
And Ocean Wagon is what I'm rocking with right now. It's not the name, but it's the password. So if you're at my house,
You
the
know.
Wi-Fi password. You don't have to
If
ask
you
a
don't
million times
know,
now,
now you
whoever's
know.
listening. Yeah.
I laugh because in my neighborhood, someone's Wi-Fi network name is FBI Van. And so,
No
so
way.
yeah, so I just like, and it's an open network too, and you're just kind of like, do I do it? Do I do it? You know,
That's unbeatable right there. I can't follow up with a Wi-Fi network after hearing that one. That's so good. I'm gonna name all my Wi-Fi networks that
no one will
moving
ever want to
forward.
connect. I promise you. I promise.
Yeah, hell no.
So, what's something people do that gets on your nerves?
Um, I guess people who are just very entitled, that's something that gets on my nerves. Not a lot gets on my nerves, but when someone like is kind of feeling like they're super deserving of something that they maybe didn't put any work in, and not even that. I guess it's more so just the like, oh, I deserve this, no one else does, like, and people whine about it. If someone's like, yo, I deserve the fucking world, and they're like confident in themselves and they're putting in work, like, I'm like, hell yeah, I love that. But entitlement in general, when someone like just thinks they deserve the world and are like being rude to others because of it, I'm like, come on, we're all people, like, chill out. No
Yeah.
one, yeah, that's something that gets on my nerves is entitlement.
Entitlement makes you a Debbie Downer. At
Yes,
the
it
end of the day,
does.
it makes you
It
the Debbie
so
Downer.
does. Do you
Would you
have any
con-
like pet peeves or anything like that, or things that
Oh
just
my
get on your
goodness.
nerves?
I can't stand when I hear people breathe when they eat. It drives me off the
Yeah.
wall. Like just and I get it. Some people don't notice it, but it's like it gets to me so much. And like with the job I work at currently, like I work with like insurance when I'm not working with this. So I'm on the phone
Uh-huh.
and then like I hear people just breathing and I have like a headset on and they're just breathing into my ears.
No
I'm
way.
just like, no, and I can't say nothing. I'm just like, oh man, it gets me.
You're
It gets
like,
me good. It gets me going. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely my top one that I can think of. Hearing people breathe when they eat, it's just like
yeah,
shimmers,
yeah.
timbers.
I get that. I totally get that.
Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I think I'm a little bit of both. There's been times in my life where I'm like super introverted. I'm like, I just want to live on a mountain by myself and just be in nature forever. And then once I moved to LA, I grew up in Seattle, Washington. I moved around there quite a bit. And once I moved to LA, I feel like I really broke out of my shell more and was able to talk to a lot more people. And now I love people. I love meeting new people and connecting with people. And I think that's great. So I'm a little bit of both where I could stay in my room and just work on whatever I'm working on for like weeks on end. But then also if someone's like, if a friend or someone like is out there and it's like, yo, let's go to this party. It's gonna be like crazy. This is happening. I'm also gonna be like, yo, that sounds really fun. I'm down to like meet some new people.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I find myself kind of in the same thing as you, like a little bit 50-50 when it comes to both of them. And not only that, I
Yeah.
love to meet new people. And then it's so crazy. Then you find out this brand new person that you meet knows this person that you know, and
Yeah.
then the worlds collide.
Yeah. Yes.
Then the worlds collide.
Yeah. I love that. I love it when worlds collide. One of my favorite things is like, I don't know why I love it so much, but I love introducing people to different people and like making those connections where like, oh, you should talk to this person, you should meet this person, and then they're like friends or something. Like, I don't know why I love that so much, but it's so cool.
Sparking a friendship. It's a great quality to have.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. That's a great thing. So are you into watching movies and TV shows currently right now, or are you more kind of focused on like not watching any of those things?
It kind of switches for me. I'll go through phases where I'll like find something and I'll watch it
Mhm.
and I enjoy it. So it definitely goes through phases. I have this thing where like I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but if I'm like not being productive, it bothers me. And also sometimes watching a movie is productive in my opinion because sometimes you're so burnt out from like a day where it's like if you're going to work on something, it might not go well and you're going to be even more burnt out tomorrow. So I'm a huge advocate of if you're super tired, take the 10 minutes to like close your eyes and sit there and just lay down because that's going to add like an hour or two of productivity where you're going to be able to work on stuff. Everything's a balance in life and I've like definitely if you ignore certain things like that, life has a way of reminding you and like slapping you in the face like,
Yeah.
yo, you gotta chill, you gotta get some rest or something. So yeah, there's times where I'll definitely watch a bunch of shows and
So
then
what
there's
are some
sometimes
shows that you're watching currently, or what's the last thing that you watched?
I've been the last thing I watched, if I'm gonna be honest, it was like this thing called Samadhi on YouTube, which is like talking about the essence of life, essentially. I love watching YouTube videos that have to do with like mindfulness and just like kind of raising that energy type things. Because then I feel like I can like sit down and watch it and I'm like learning something while doing it. So I don't even know how to put that thing into words. If you look it up, it's like Samadhi. There's
Okay.
probably a lot of people out there that would like look that up, watch it, and just be like, "What the fuck is this guy like doing? Like, what's he watching?" But that's I was eating pasta earlier and threw that on while I was cooking.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I love when you're watching YouTube and then you're just like clicking the stuff that's on the sidebar and you're just like go from
Yes.
one thing to another thing to another thing to another thing. And not only that, watching people who create content, I feel like also
Yeah.
ignites the inspiration inside others. Like I enjoy to watch people who
Hmm.
vlog because I'm like, there's nothing
Yeah.
that you can make that is exciting in the time that we're in currently. And then I watch this stuff and I'm like, out of thin air, out of thin air. There's all this stuff that they have, and it's just like this is inspiring. Like, okay, if you can find the inspiration, I can find some inspiration, like to
Mm,
knock things out 150%. So
yeah.
YouTube also is a great
I love
tool to
YouTube.
utilize for production. If you don't know how to produce or you want to learn how to produce, YouTube has plenty of classes that go in depth with that as well.
Oh yeah, YouTube is just this endless pit of whatever you want to find, and you can use that to your advantage. Yeah, I
Absolutely,
love YouTube. I'm right there with you. And yeah,
right there
anything
with
that
us.
inspires you, I completely agree. I think that's like hugely beneficial when you can watch like anything where you're feeling like, oh shit, I'm super inspired now. That's priceless, honestly.
What are some things that inspire you?
Yes. I guess that comes in a lot of different forms. I love just sometimes sitting down and just looking at something and just staring at it for a while and just sitting there and trying to clear my mind and clear my thoughts. Seeing other people achieve what they're seeking out to achieve is
Absolutely.
inspiring. In terms of art and creation, I grew up where there was like a while in my life that I was so like perfectionist mentality of like, oh, like it's good when everything's perfect and stuff. And then like the past 3, 4 years, I realized that like literally nothing is in this world is perfect. And that's what we're drawn to. As people, we're naturally imperfect. So we're drawn to imperfections. And so that's what art is all about is those minor imperfections that give you a look into someone else's life where it's like this is how they see it and it's imperfect and it resonates with me because it's not this perfect thing. I can connect with it, and it's still curated, it's still tasteful, but it's those imperfections that make things so beautiful. Like nature especially is full of imperfections, and yeah, so that inspires me, as well as when I find those things where I'm like, oh wow, like that was almost like an accident, or that's not perfect, but like that small imperfection is what makes that thing so beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. All those things are very, very inspiring. 150%. Now, getting to the end of things and wrapping up this wonderful spotlight interview, is there anything that you would like to promote or anyone you would like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I think a lot of people in this world deserve a good shout out. So shout out to everyone. I'll promote opendoors.la. So Open Doors as a whole, everyone involved in that, I really appreciate and am grateful for. Super excited for everything that's happening with that. So I got to shout out the whole team on that. Shout out everyone involved, and also promoting that. I actually we created a login system where you can create a user profile, and I've been working a ton on that for next steps and next phases for what that's going to lead into. I have a whole long-term plan with Open Doors. I want to be working on that. I want that to be in existence when I'm 80 years old, and I want it to still be thriving at that point and continue to grow. So I'd love, actually, if you're interested in testing out that login system and user system.
I'd love to.
Yeah, let's hop on another call next
Yeah.
week or something.
Yeah,
That'd be
absolutely.
tight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
shout out you. Shout out Storytime. Shout out Loesch as well. Big shout out to you, Matt. Thank you for everything you do, and yeah, all these conversations you're having with people. I see the videos and I love them, and they're really great to see, and just all the creatives that are coming on board. So massive shout out to you.
Hey, thank you very much. And I want to say thank you to you as well for taking time out of your day to do this spotlight. So, and not only that, thank you for everyone who is tuning in and watching this interview. Once again, my name is Matt Campbell, and you have been tuning in to the Storytime Spotlight with the Open Doors founder, Friz.
Thank you.